Greetings, TGIF everyone. What's going on? What's happening? How are you? Are you ready for the weekend to begin? Ooh, I'm pretty sure you are. Not sure where you're located, but It is a beautiful, like 39 degrees in Chicago. And yes, you can laugh if you like to DJ music. That's okay. That is nice, beautiful springtime for us in the winter. We love it. Do you know the snow has actually melted a lot? There's not a lot of snows in between the cars and piled up. It just looks beautiful. The ground, you can see the ground now. It looks kind of glossy, like it's wet. It's beautiful. You just don't understand. Oh, yeah. Well, this month is really short, and this is what they give for Black History Month. It has gone past quite fast, and as early as Monday is the first of the month. Cash your check and come on. Oh, yeah. It is that rent time again. It is mortgage time. It's all of that. Those bills are due. It is that time of the month. Can you believe it? Yeah. And pretty soon we'll be springing forward too. That's another thing that's going on. So there's some weather changes. I do agree. And I like them. I think they're beautiful. They're lovely. And if you give me a moment just to kind of vent a little bit, um, the show that we're having tonight, as you see, it says boys will be boys. And it's a school fight. But I know boys will be boys. It's just that, I'm disappointed with parents. Well, no, well that too, but I'm disappointed when it comes down to adults. And I'm finding people that are adults, and I'm not just talking 21. Okay, I'm gonna give you at least okay, I'll give you 30. Okay? So the way people conduct themselves, they're supposed to be adults, responsible adults. It's really sad, and I see it, all the time online. I see it in the street, and I'm just asking myself, what is really going on? No one wants responsibility for anything. No one wants to be an adult, just a child, selfish, throwing tantrums. What's really going on? It's I don't know. But that's what came to mind for the show that we're going to have tonight. Let me take off this starting shortly here. Boop. Okay. Um, I don't know. We'll talk a little bit more when we listen to the story, but I just wanted to say that, and I know you guys do recognize that you find adults not being adults. And if you don't have someone that's 30 years and over being an example to younger people, what happens? What you see is what's happening. And it isn't pretty. If you know you're not supposed to park in the handicap lane, and then you want to argue after you get caught, and then want to fight, why do you have to go that direction? You were wrong. You know you were wrong. You got caught. Move on. But no, you want to have a whole lot to say, want to fight, call people names. And I'm just finding people just not taking responsibility and being childish. And it's really sad. So enough of me rambling. And let's get on to it. Ooh, and guess who we have, everyone? All right, so I want everyone to build and stand up, raise your hand. You know what to do. We got to give that warm welcome to the beautiful, the lovely, the classic Ruby, everybody.
Oh my God, guys. You know what? Every time you applaud me, I never get tired of it. Like it's like a brand new thing. Like it's the first time it ever happened. I know. I belong center stage. I love you guys too. Mwah, mwah, mwah. How you doing, the TGIFE Nation?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good. Well, I have to say, right now, I totally hear you on the whole accountability thing. I'm just gonna let y'all know in advance. All of my stories today will prove how Ruby is never at fault and everyone else always is. Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Come on.
Isn't that something?
Right? I mean, did you really expect anything different? Come on, come on. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Okay. Well, I think you will have something to say on this. And because it's copywritten, of course, it is another but I've only used the sound this time
Mhm.
because of the visuals. You just have to
Right.
visualize it in your
Okay.
mind, but we're going to listen to a case where two parents, it's the mothers, they come together and there's one is suing the other one because of the fighting in school.
Mhm.
One child
Mm.
was hurt. The other one wasn't, of course, and he was supposed to have been the aggressor. And
Mhm.
of course, he wasn't.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's normally how it goes.
Mhm.
So, so let me share my screen here. And let's see, sound. Got to have that sound because that's all we got really
Mhm.
today.
Right. Y'all make sure you
And
get your Q-tips, clean out them ears. You got to listen closely. Listen closely.
that's right.
Mhm.
Plaintiff Danielle McDonald says her son goes to school with the defendant's son, and she claims the defendant's son is a bully who assaulted her son. Danielle claims as a result of the assault, her son suffered a concussion, spent the night in the hospital, and missed 7 days of school. So she's suing for the ambulance fees. And Clarice Ross says her son has been friends with Danielle's son since fourth grade. And on the day of the incident, Danielle's son instigated the fight. Clarice claims after Danielle's son called her son names, he hit her son. So Clarice's son hit him back in self defense.
Start with you.
I'm here on behalf of my son, Dominic Rogers, who was bullied by Clarice's son. He hit my son, knocked his tooth out, caused him to miss 7 days of school, caused him to stay in the hospital overnight, also caused him to have a concussion. My son is a happy-go-lucky person. He never has been in a fight before in his life. He's what you consider to be a nerd. He never treats anyone any other way other than how he would want to be treated. In October 2016, my son was assaulted in the lunchroom. He was bullied. He was hit by Clarice's son.
Was there an argument?
No, sir.
Yes.
No one said anything to anyone. Her son just walked up to your son and struck him?
Yes. The lunch attendant, as well as the security officer in there, walked over and said, "The two of you, I don't want any playing in here." So my son proceeded on to class. Upon my son going to class, there was a substitute teacher. Her son again carried on the same behavior. The substitute teacher called the principal. The principal asked her son to step outside. Her son did not listen to the principal. Upon class continuing on, after class, her son snuck my son in the hallway, hit him, caused him to fall down, hit his head, knocked out his tooth, and left him
No argument
discombobulated.
again.
Excuse me?
No argument
In
again.
the classroom, he was upset with my son for hitting him back. There was the argument.
Okay. Why are you laughing? Was the child hospitalized overnight?
I don't know. When I got the phone
Oh, you don't
call,
know. Do you have any evidence that he was hospitalized?
This ambulance.
Did you tell her?
Oh, I tried to.
You told
She
her,
didn't
or did
call
the
me.
school tell her
Sir,
that
yes.
the child was
Yes.
hospitalized?
Her son was suspended. Mine wasn't. Yes.
Ain't nobody tell me this. Dominaire was hospitalized.
No one told you
and
he was
nobody
injured?
ever told me.
This is the first
Nope.
time?
All right. Does sound believable so far?
No.
No one told her, which is an adult, the parent, that her son did anything to make another child, which is the other woman's son,
Mhm.
to end up in the hospital. So it's the first time she's hearing it. No one told her, she said.
Right.
Okay. All right. Everybody got
Mm,
it. Let's move on.
mm.
Don't interrupt me like you over there laughing while she's describing her son got a concussion, left school for 7 days, hospitalized overnight. And while she's telling me this, you're laughing. And now that I want to ask about it, you want to interrupt me. Once again, did you ever hear that her son had a concussion?
Like when I got the police report back in, what was it, February?
In February. Yet you come in here laughing at your son, giving him a concussion. It's funny to you. Go ahead, man. Finish.
This right here says that he had to go to the hospital. This is the bill. I brought his evidence. This is the police report.
And that's all you're suing for is the bill?
Yes, not the court fees, not the hospital stay, none of that. Just what would be on my credit.
Hear from you.
Okay, Your Honor. To set the record straight, I wasn't laughing that her son was hurt in this whole situation. It's funny that she keeps saying it was no altercation, which it was. These boys has been friends since the 4th grade. Off and on friends since the 4th
She
grade.
said it was an altercation. She said your son busted him upside the head,
Which is not the
busted
truth.
him and gave him a concussion and had him hospitalized. What do you mean no altercation? Huh? You weren't listening. You were too busy laughing. That is altercation. I got news for you.
The altercation from 4th grade, they was on and off again friends, and it was an altercation at this time of the incident. I'm not sitting here trying to say my son is perfect. Boys make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. Everybody go through things. On this day in question, the kids were sitting in the lunchroom, Dominaire, my son, and a few other kids. And they was playing this game called Neck. I don't condone hitting, period.
Neck?
Yes, it's a game that the boys play where they hit each other on the neck and think it's funny. I don't condone it at all. I never have. So after that, they was walking out the lunchroom. Dominaire called my son out his name, talked about my son because he don't have the latest gear. I buy what I can afford.
Mm-hmm.
And he also called me a few things that my son won't tell me,
Mm-hmm.
so he can spare my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Her son is not no angel. And I did call Miss McDonald and try to mend this.
Mm-hmm.
I called her, and the attitude I got back from her was just awful. Well, I'll just see you in court. I called her so we could try to hash this out. I called her. I said, hello, Miss McDonald. This is Clarice. I apologize about what happened to your son. Let me start there. She said, ain't no way we about to work this out. I just see you in court.
Okay.
But before
she didn't ask you
her
about the ambulance bill? She didn't mention
No.
it? You didn't mention it
No.
when she called you?
That was the whole reason she called. Why would you call me if it wasn't about a bill, sweetheart?
Yeah, it didn't
Because
make sense
I
to me
think
either.
I
I believe the
also-
woman, instead of suing you, she would have at first, at some point,
No.
say to you, I got a $520 bill. Let's talk about that. You telling me the woman never mentioned it. Got it.
No.
So finish telling your story about what occurred with the fight.
Okay, so after Dominaire said whatever he said to my son, they walked back to class, and Dominaire proceeded to hit my son in the head with some books. My son then defended himself. He hit Dominaire after Dominaire hit him. Dominaire tried to hit him, and my son moved and hit Dominaire again.
Stand up, young man. Stand up, young man. And you tell me he attacks him. You can have a seat. Stop attacking him.
I got
So, what is the result of all of this with the school?
Well, my son received.
Anybody suspended?
My son, 5 days.
Was your son suspended?
No. And may I add to that, Tiffany,
Yes.
please? My son was not sitting with your son. My son does not play hand contact.
Ma'am, you don't know what your son does, and you don't know what your son does. All I do know, it does not sound reasonable that he was hospitalized, had to go by ambulance when your son was not harmed physically. Also, I don't think this young man is that brave to attack your son looking at their sizes. Thirdly, you admit that your son was suspended for 5 days. Did you discuss with your principal why your son was suspended? Did you give him the story you gave me? And what did they say?
Well, when I got there, we were supposed to have mediation. Miss McDonald didn't show. She didn't call. I missed work. So they rescheduled the mediation. And again, she didn't call, didn't show. So it wasn't too much that we could have did.
Oh, yes, it is. When you don't show up for mediation, they dismiss the person's claim who was not there. Your son wouldn't have been suspended because they wouldn't have had the other side of the story. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you. My son is not perfect, and your son is not no angel. I just want you to see that boys going to be boys. And as mothers, we need to band together so they can keep, it's already enough going on.
I'm not going to say that my son is an angel, but one thing I will say is he will never try to harm someone.
Your son hit my son, and he's failing to tell you.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a lot of lying on both sides, in my opinion.
It is.
Yeah.
I would say this lying and how would I say it for the plaintiff? I don't want to say delusion, but yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, yeah, delusion. I mean, delusion might be right because for you, so plaintiff mom, right? For her to say, my kid is just this innocent, nerdy kid. He sat in the corner by himself, didn't say or do nothing at all. And this boy just came out of the blue and beat him so bad he had a concussion and lost a tooth. And like, where they do that at? Like, you have to understand that little boys generally tend to go off on each other. Normally it's like a disrespect thing. So I believe the part of the story of mama defendant where she said, no, he said some stuff. He said some stuff about my son. He said some stuff about me. And you talk about someone's mama. That's where it's going down. And so that's really what happened. Now, it's likely maybe defendant mama added, and then he threw books. Nah, he probably didn't throw books, right? But, it wasn't like, oh, he's just some evil savage who just went and attacked some poor little nerdy kid for no reason. Like, let's not pretend that that's what it is. Now, we're talking about the defendant kid. He's poorer. Maybe he's a little bit more isolated than the other kids as a result of that because he gets made fun of a lot and whatnot. So he's probably got, some anger issues and whatever. But for the plaintiff mom to think that her kid is not like every other typical little evil ass child out there, because children are evil, it's beyond delusional to me. You don't have to sit there and lie about it in order for you to, win this law case. Because while she's sitting there lying about it, what she's doing is she's demonizing another Black son. That's what she's doing. She demonized another little Black boy so she could win in a court case. And that's where I have a major issue with her to begin with, off the bat.
Right. It's unnecessary. And you just don't know what your child is doing. Now, as far as jumping on that boy, I would say no. He might have been teasing him, they might have been playing and whatever, but that boy is only 5 feet tall. He's really not even that. He might be 4'7", but 5 feet tall versus 6'3". That's why 6'3" hit him and he ended up going to the hospital. So yeah. But as far as mom, she's saying she doesn't know anything about it. Well, she didn't know anything. And well, let me see. Was that like I got some paper February? Come on, lady. Come on. Just stop.
But you know what though, Sean, I'm gonna say something, because here's the thing. And I've heard some men discuss this on YouTube. So two types of boys in school have to fight more than average. light-skinned little boys and shorter ones because they have to prove themselves constantly. Bigger kids and dark-skinned kids tend not to have to prove that. So therefore they fight less. So, we can't write off the little short one just because he's short. He might have a way more skill and way more power and therefore make way more ego and bravado than we're attributing to him because of their size difference, right? Because, if they're kids, like how old are these kids? Um,
Let's see. I would say they were about 12.
oh, yeah. So when you're 12 years old and you're talking to another 12-year-old, you're not judging common sense like the way adults do, right? You're not looking at like, well, he's taller than me, because you're always thinking, I could take him, I could take her. That's why girls at that age will fight a boy that's like 10 times bigger than them, right? Like their judgment's impaired. So I wouldn't go just based on the fact that the kid is a nerd and a little bit shorter because he
Hmm.
might be vicious as hell because he might have a slick ass mouth. And when these kids have slick mouths, they end up having to fight a lot. Really, he probably just lost. He didn't get it. He didn't get the swing in he thought he was going to get in. His friends didn't jump in like he thought they were going to. Maybe the tall
Possible.
kid, he thought the tall kid couldn't fight because he doesn't normally, right? So he thought he'd be able to just kind of keep running his mouth and the kid would walk away. He didn't expect him to swing, right? So I don't want to give the plaintiff's son too much credit. I honestly don't, because I remember being a kid and all of them were evil. Tall, short, dark, light, white, black, Chinese. They were all evil little just hellions, right? That's what kids are. So
Yeah, kids can be something else. And we have the
mhm.
lovely Vonda on the panel. Welcome, Vonda.
Hey,
Hey
Sha-
girl, hey.
hey, Ruby. Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
Okay. Well, I actually raised a boy, and I do know how boys can be boys. But let's not pretend that there aren't bullies. There are other kids. If they know that they have an advantage over you, they will take advantage of the advantage that they have over you, and they will use that to gain power or to embarrass you, make you look bad in front of the other kids. That is typically what kids do. It feeds their ego to pound on a quote unquote lesser person. That's just the nature of kids. I was a kid and there were bullies. There were kids who got picked on, and it all, for me, what I noticed, it all depended on how you exerted or asserted yourself, whether you were going to get picked on or not. I tended to be more on the quiet side, and I noticed that if I was real quiet, that I could easily get stuck in a situation where someone wanted to try me because, oh, she's quiet, she's not going to say anything, let me pick on her. And there were those times where I had to actually put my foot down and say, look, just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm going to let you just trample all over me. Because my thing was, of course, we're all raised, you don't let no one, put their hands on you. You fight back, and my fear was, I feared my parents more than I feared another kid. So if I came home crying or all torn up because, I let someone, drag me all over the school, my mother was
Hmm.
not having that. It was like, well, wait a minute, that's not what I taught you. So sometimes you had to get real, with these kids. Kids are horrible. Kids
Yeah,
are
they can be.
horrible.
Right?
So
Wicked.
sometimes
There's
you have
wicked.
to, you're right, Ruby, they're wicked. Sometimes you do have to put your foot down. And with the situation with this, you know, the the main difference with this, 5-foot kid and this 6'3" kid, this 6'3" kid knew that he had an advantage over the other kid. Now, that's not to say that the 5 foot some odd kid, wasn't out there talking a whole bunch of mess. And sometimes you have to look at a case by case scenario. You have to look at it case by case. But when you start getting into bodily damage and, you done knocked some teeth out and, concussions and missing school, it's like, you know what? Wait a minute. We're going to have to do something about this. And to me, it seems like the defendant, the mother, for me, she appeared to be just a little bit too cavalier because her son was not on the receiving end of the beatdown. It was like, oh, the boys just will be boys, so I don't see what the big deal is, and I don't agree with that either.
Yeah, I had an issue that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I really have an issue with when she wanted to act as if she didn't get notice of what happened, because that isn't going to save anything. That's not going to save your son. That's not going to save you. And it just bothers me that, a lot of people, as I start off with the show saying people not taking responsibility. You did get a notice. It's okay. You got the notice. You didn't like what happened. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, yes, I got the notice. I did find out about it. And then when she claimed that she showed up for the disposition and it was not in her favor, she did not show up, because if that other person didn't show up, you would actually win, even though you're guilty. So for her to just lie, come on.
It was lame. Her excuse to me was lame. And she basically, because her son didn't get his behind whooped, it didn't seem like she really cared. She didn't really care. She didn't put forth much effort, to try to resolve it or to even see, okay, what happened? What happened with you and this little boy? What did you do? Tell me the whole story. Of course, you're going to lean towards your child more because you're going to have more faith in what your child is telling you. But, at the end of the day, we as parents, we know our kids. And in most cases,
Nope.
Ruby,
I disagree. I'm sorry. I disagree. You know why? Because I'm going to tell you why. Because a couple things, but in most cases, we don't know our kids at all. We know our kids as far as the way that they act around authority figures. We know the way our kids act around us. We know the way our kids act around family. We know the way our kids act when they will be observed. What we don't know is the way our kids act around their friends. And that's normally parents, every parent I've ever heard of has a kind of come to Jesus moment where their kid does something they think is so incredibly out of character. And if they just leave it at that, then they think it's just like a one-off. But normally, if you deep dive further, they suddenly figure out like, oh my God, I didn't know my kid at all. Right. So a lot of people think they know their kids, but especially when you have the change of puberty happening, because once you get to the end of childhood, the start of puberty, kids stop talking to their parents. Kids stop showing their parents their growth and development. They show their parents what their parents want to see, which is the good, well-behaved kid who follows the rules and believes what they believe. And then they go to school and they follow the group and they follow the crowd because they've developed to be like that. So I'm going to say, I think that if anything, if I were listening to those two stories, defendant story, plaintiff story, I believe the defendant story more. Why? Because it seems like, yes, okay, granted, she made a lot of excuses and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, lots of lying on both sides. But it seems like she pushed for an explanation of some sort, right? Like, nah, you can't just tell me whatever. I need a little bit more depth, right? Whereas in the plaintiff, mother didn't need depth, right? So this kid just attacked you? Yeah. He just came out of nowhere for no reason? Yeah. Oh my God, my poor baby. And she left it at that. Like, that doesn't logically make sense to anyone on the planet, but it made sense to her because her baby's still 6 in her head. Her baby's not 6 anymore. You know what I mean? You don't know what your little quiet nerdy kid's been up to in the 7th grade.
I agree, but then I disagree only in that. Now, when I say, a parent knows their kid, you know the nature of your kid. But if you know the nature of people, you know that kids are going to do the complete opposite when they're not with you. So when I was saying that, I knew you know, how my son behaved around me. I knew, you know, the things that he would do around me, but I also knew that he was a different person when he was not around me, because I was the same way when I was a kid.
Right.
You know, so that's the way I judged him, because I'm like, oh, and now if my mom knew that I was doing this or I said that, I would be in so much trouble. So my thing is I didn't think my child was any different than I would have been as a kid. You know, like if you have a kid around the house, they don't cuss, they do exactly what they're told. But when they're outside, they are the complete opposite. And I know that for a fact. So when it came to these mothers, they basically thought that their kids were perfect when they could have both at least met in the middle. But I think what it was with the plaintiff's mom is that the defendant mom, she didn't really give a damn. She didn't
See,
give
but I disagree. No, the plaintiff's mom thought her kid was perfect, right? The defendant's mom continually said, my kid's not an angel. I get it. Why can't you admit your kid's not an angel either? I can admit where my kid did wrong in this situation. Why can't you even face the concept that maybe your kid isn't a perfect angel? So I think that when it comes to that area, the defendant mom actually is taking more accountability for her kid not being perfect and understanding that, yeah, okay, obviously there's the proof is in the pudding. Some kid was landed in the hospital. She's not denying her kid did it. Right. And from the vibe, it sounds like she's saying like, no, it was wrong that this was his reaction. It was wrong. Regardless of what no one should have landed in the hospital. You don't react this way to your feelings. Right. So it sounds like she was actually taking accountability for those two things. Whereas, and again, plaintiff's mom, no, my kid's an angel. He's just sitting in the corner, a nerd. He don't fight with no one. He doesn't do nothing wrong. How dare you insinuate he might have brought this on himself in any way? Right? Like, no, I
Yeah,
gotta give the defendant credit where it's due. And I think that in this case, because she repeated it constantly, even at the end when it was done, she said it again. She started off her sentence saying, my kid's not an angel. That's the first thing she said. She didn't say your kid's not an angel. She said, my kid's not an angel. So why can't you accept that your kid's not an angel?
But this is a lesson in life. This is a lesson in life. That you at some point in your life, whether the person you're dealing with is an angel or not, if you commit an act upon another person, you will have to pay the price for it, regardless of what happened. And this is a one of those situations. You know, the smaller kid, who knows? Maybe he was the aggressor. So if he was the aggressor, he ended up losing because he wasn't more powerful than the bigger kid. And now the bigger kid who exerted his power over the smaller kid, now he's going to be the one to pay the price for it. Because there is no other added proof other than this child going to the hospital. There's proof of him going to the hospital. There's proof of, you know, his injuries, you know, tooth getting knocked out, concussion, whatever it was that happened to him. There's proof of all of this. But there's no wording, no proof, no witnesses of any aggression that this 5 foot somewhat odd kid did anything to the bigger kid. It looks as if the bigger kid just picked on the smaller kid. So if anything, it would teach these kids to look at their behaviors. You're going to be judged by your behavior. You know, and I think that maybe if the defendant mom may have showed a little bit more concern rather than, you know, okay, here's your son's tooth, but he ain't no angel either. That, you know, maybe that might not have been the best way to go about it. You know, if she showed a little bit more concern. And I think if the mothers could have met in the middle, the whole court thing would have never happened.
Yeah, because she wasn't even sworn for everything. Okay, cool. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say plaintiff mom didn't want to meet in the middle though, right? Defendant mom called plaintiff mom. So there was no conversation. I mean, the problem is in this case, I feel like, again, it's just like the last case. If you don't ask questions because you've already made up your mind, Mr. Judge, against someone, which it seemed like he made up his mind very quickly, then at the end of the day, we don't get that additional information. So you just decided the defendant mom was lying because at the end of the day, you decided her kid was guilty without cause. And so therefore, everything else she says is just going to be a lie and we should just dismiss everything. But okay, so you're saying the plaintiff Montana said, well, of course she called about the bill. Okay, so what happened at that point then? You didn't answer, like, no one asked any questions about that going further. You know what I mean? Okay, so she's saying she tried to speak to you and you said, I'll just see you in court then. Why don't you say your side? Why don't we have more information on that? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. It seems like maybe she wanted to have some type of discussion, and obviously that discussion never happened.
Right, and it's interesting that there's no witnesses. That's the other thing. Also, when the defendant mom said that she couldn't buy her son different things, I'm not for certain about if that played a role in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I said that is because they were wearing uniforms. So I don't know why she would say that. Yeah, I wish I could show it, but yeah, so I don't get that. So when I'm looking at it and I'm like, but they're wearing uniforms, so why would she bring in the clothing part of it? Now, if they're
Oh, I
friends
know why.
outside of the school,
Yes.
then yeah, I do understand it there.
Mm.
But as far as that being a factor at the fight in school, that isn't a factor. So,
Well, I think, and the thing is, right, is
mhm.
like there's two different levels we could talk about this conversation. We can have the general discussion, but we got to factor in the fact that these kids have been friends on and off since the fourth grade. So, sometimes they're the best of friends. Sometimes they fall out with each other. Now, clearly, we're falling out with each other, which means they know about each other's lives. They know about each other's conditions. They know about each other's struggles. Because when you're friends and you're a kid, you don't even have to be that close. You will tell your friends everything.
Right.
Right. So there's that. You've seen where each other lives, stuff like that. But even within the school, even when you're in a uniform school, they have like civvies days where, you can come to school dressed in your normal clothing or, even in gym, right? What are, all the other kids are wearing Nikes for gym and you're wearing Kmart shoes. Or, maybe the different devices people have as far as, their cell phones, their whatever they're allowed to use during lunch or during classes that he doesn't have. Even your backpack brand can be a thing, right? So, I mean, there's lots of things that these kids are going to judge each other on that,
Yeah.
a poor parent can't buy that a better off parent can. So
Mhm.
if you guys are friends, right, and then you have a falling out, you know exactly what buttons to push to
Right.
really dig deep on the other person when you want to hurt them. And
Right.
right now, I'm guessing if this kid, right, the 6'3" one, if he was a violent kid, if he was just naturally a violent kid, this would have been it. They would have kicked him out of school. That would have been it for him in schooling, right? Because they're not big on letting violent kids just keep coming back to school to reoffend. So it means he's probably not had this type of situation before, which
Mhm.
then makes me, again, this is what to me supports the defendant's story is, okay, they know about each other, right? They had some type of little mini altercation earlier. Now they
Right.
pissed off at each other. And because they're friends, guess what? 5'3" ain't scared of 6'3". Why? Because they're friends. They're friends who
Mhm.
fell out. So now you're going to run your mouth and you're going to poke all those buttons you know are going to hurt. And you feel confident you can do that. And he's not going to hurt you. Why? Because underlying all of this, y'all have been friends for so long. But guess what? You hit the wrong button when you said some stuff about his mama and he went off and you didn't expect it. That's what I like. I mean,
Mhm.
it seems likely. It seems likely.
And that's kind of interesting as far as because the defendant mom said that my son won't tell me what the plaintiff son said because he wants to spare my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, did this had to have happened before? Because how would the mom know enough to know that it would hurt her feelings as well as the
Mm-hmm.
son? So I'm like, So this is
Yeah.
not a surprise. Now both moms were dressed very nice, presentable and everything. So there's
Mm-hmm.
no what they call it, hoochie or nothing like that. They were
Good.
presentable parents.
Mhm.
I
Good.
went to the word
Yeah.
hoochie, but they were very presentable. And I even liked the lady's hair. It was sharp. It was laid. Uh-oh. Yeah, she had some short haircut. It was laid. It looking cool. But
Mm.
anyway, but yeah, they were both presentable. Um,
Mhm.
Now, when it comes down to it, as we, said before, there are different layers to this.
Mhm.
And I get you don't, as your child, you're like, I don't see my child a particular way. I get that. But you don't know what your child would do. It will shock you. I agree with you on that, Ruby. It will
Mhm.
shock you. You'll be like, what? He did what? She said, oh my goodness. Because I have a friend that mentioned how she found out her daughter just had the fighting demon in her. She just liked to fight. It was what it
Mm.
was. Nothing she could do. And when she went up to the school, because she got a call, she was at work, and she's thinking that the three girls jumped on her daughter. Oh no, the daughter took care of the three girls.
Mhm.
So I
Hey.
do know, just from people telling me, it can happen. And it does
Mhm.
happen. It will continue to happen.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. My best friend. Yeah, we were in high school, mind you. Earlier that day, I had gotten suspended for fighting, so I wasn't there at the time.
Okay.
However, these three girls who were like, they were like 5'10", 5'11", showed up at the school to basically confront one of our male friends. Now, he's very anti, you don't hit women and whatever. And she was basically, when those girls came in, they're looking for a friend and whatever. My best friend was there alone. My best friend is like 5'2". Okay. She's a short girl. And there's these three lumbering women. And she beat the living hell out of all three of those women. All three. And she got in no trouble because they didn't belong at our school, right? So at the end of the day, she was like, okay. So, but that was one 5'2" woman against three 5'10" women, right? So you can't count people out just because of height, because short people can be wily there. They can be wily. They can cut someone up. So let's
Okay.
not discount them.
Right. So I got it for you. Now, what's up with that three though? The person I know, three people.
Mhm.
Person you just told, three people. What's up with that?
That's true. Those
What is
random
with the
three.
three?
That is you know what? I didn't even realize. Yeah. You know what? I guess they figure you have to have one leader and then two henchmen, right? And so then the two henchmen attack before the leader has to get their hands dirty. I don't know.
That's it. I'm convinced. That's it. Okay.
Must be. You know what? You need two people to hold the arms, one on each arm, and then one throwing the punches,
Okay, that's how it go. That's why it's a group of three. Okay, got it.
So you got your
Wow.
trio.
Right. That's something else. But
Mhm.
yeah, that is a mess. But this is pretty tame compared to a lot of the stories that we actually hear or even see
Mhm.
around us when it comes down to these parents and their
Mhm.
children. This
Yep.
is tame.
Mhm.
And I just it still saddens me, and because I'm thinking of those people that are, just no accountability in no type of way, and they will start fighting the other children. I'm like, what is you an adult? Why are you fighting the children? I don't care if the little girl has a lot of mouth and the
Mhm.
things that she's saying about you is right. You do
Mhm.
not fight another child. And I do hear about that, and that's messed up. It does happen.
Oh yeah. Oh, women. Now to be fair, I'm gonna say, to the palm colored people. When I was a kid, a lot of them would show up in school to defend their kids, which was weird. I remember once, there was this kid. He was an awkward boy, man. He just really was. We'll just call him Jay. And so, Jay was just this awkward boy. His mom always sent him weird stuff. And his mom was weird as heck, too. Like, she was a belly dancer, but she was like 75 looking. We're all like in the fourth grade. And like, she just got him teased mercilessly for the choices that she made and she made him make. And this kid was always wearing like, again, weird clothes. It's just like in general, right? Kids are mean. So he was teased mercilessly by the other boys. And I can't remember what happened. It's like we were playing like field hockey or something. I remember we were outside and basically he got hit accidentally. It really was accidentally, but he got hit pretty hard while playing the game. And so now he's all bleeding and stuff. So he gets sent to the office. And like about 30 minutes later, you see this wild, crazy, bohemian looking woman storming out onto the field in her sandals. And we're like, what, did he forget his backpack? Like, what is Jay's mom doing here? Oh, no. She came. I'm not even lying. She came and put her finger on the nose of the boy who had been holding the stick that hit him, right? And started screaming at him and whatever, grabbed him by his shirt. It was a whole thing. And we were all just stunned. Like, is this really happening? Is she really gonna do this today? Right? And yeah, it was a whole thing. Ended up having to be calmed down. I remember the police were called. I remember Jay was not in her school the next year, so I don't know. And I know a friend of mine personally who has gone down to her daughter's school to talk to the school, and when the school didn't work out talking to them, she went and talked to the kids directly. Now she didn't touch them,
Okay.
but she did threaten them. Like directly threaten. I've actually seen her threaten kids on her street as well.
Wow.
Pretty convincingly. Yeah, threaten kids on her street pretty convincingly. And then when the parents came storming up, she would play dumb. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why would I threaten a kid? I would never threaten a kid. I'm a grown woman. Are you kidding me right now? I have a daughter his age. Like she would do stuff like that. So I'm just saying, I've seen this happen. It's not just us who do stuff that we probably shouldn't be doing when we're being too defensive of our kids, right? I think we have a different way. Like, I think each culture kind of has a different way that they do it. But I do think that it's a common thing with moms. Like, they get over invested in their kids, right? And then it's like you're just like this tiger mom, right? And so anyone tries to touch your little cub, you want to rip their head off. And sometimes you can't control yourself and you will do whatever you can to defend your kid, even if it's not what's best for your kid. And that's what I think that we're kind of seeing here. I think both of these moms are so busy defending their kid, they're not really thinking about what's best for the kids. Like,
right.
Do you think court TV is best for either of your kids? Really? Okay.
Because you think about it, they're going to have to deal with each other in the same school if they continue to go to the same school.
Yep.
And as they're growing, they're going to deal with other people. So you need to teach your children so they can learn the lesson and just take responsibility. And I'm still wondering what happened to witnesses. I'm really wondering about that because that's something else. If you got a tooth that's knocked out, concussion, and ambulance, that's a lot. So it couldn't be just with one blow, I don't think. So where's the hall monitor? The kid that cut class? Anybody?
Right.
I
would love to hear the story again, like the one from the plaintiff's mom, because the plaintiff's mom kind of drew it out and said something about the initial confrontation. There was an initial confrontation where nothing happened, and then a second one later. And I can't remember if she said it was after school, but like, was it on the school grounds? Was it outside of the school grounds? Because maybe it wasn't at school. Maybe like the root of this was at school. Maybe they weren't necessarily on school grounds. Maybe it was very much after school, like much later. I'm not 1,000% sure. So maybe that would clarify where are the witnesses. Like,
okay. All right, let's see what we can come up here.
All right.
Right. Clarice claims after Danielle in self-defense.
Start with you.
I'm here on behalf of my son, Dominic Rogers, who was bullied by Clarice's son. He hit my son, knocked his tooth out, caused him to miss 7 days of school, caused him to stay in the hospital overnight, also caused him to have a concussion. My son is a happy-go-lucky person. He never has been in a fight before in his life. He's what you consider to be a nerd. He never treats anyone any other way other than how he would want to be treated. In October 2016, my son was assaulted in the lunchroom. He was bullied. He was hit by Clarice's son.
Was there an argument?
No, sir.
Yes.
No one said anything to anyone. Her son just walked up to your son and struck him.
Yes. The lunch attendant.
So ridiculous. Yes. Yes, that's exactly how it happened.
As well
Okay.
as the security officer in there, walked over and said, the two of you, I don't want any playing in here. So my son proceeded on to class. Upon my son going to class, there was a substitute teacher. Her son, again, carried on the same behavior. The substitute teacher called the principal. The principal asked her son to step outside. Her son did not listen to the principal. Upon class continuing on, after class, her son snuck my son in the hallway, hit him, caused him to fall down, hit his head, knocked out his tooth, and left him
No argument
discombobulated.
again.
Excuse me?
No argument again?
In the classroom, he was upset with my son for hitting him back. There was the argument.
Okay. Why are you like?
I don't feel more clear. I don't know why. I don't feel more clear. That was something. Because, like, okay, so you're in the lunchroom when all of this starts. Okay. Then in class. And then after class, outside of the class, he snuck your son, quote unquote. So this is right after class. So then the hallway should be full of people. So, yeah, there's witnesses then. Char, if you're talking, we can't hear you. Well, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was
There we
talking.
go. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so I'm agreeing. I'm like, yeah, right. Uh-huh. Where's the witnesses? I'm with you. Uh-huh.
Right. Right. And see, this is another I had some contention with Joe saying like, well, if you try to do mediation before and the plaintiff didn't show up, then you would have had everything dismissed. That's not actually true. Right? Because again, if there were witnesses without the plaintiff, because this is something like assault, they might have been able to move forward with it. But because the plaintiff didn't show up, that's why he didn't get expelled. He just got suspended. So, you know, it might be true. I don't know. Like, I just feel like there's something extra here that they both know and they're not saying. You know what I mean?
They
But
got secrets. Okay.
maybe there's nothing extra, Ruby.
Uh-oh.
There doesn't always have to be something extra. An altercation between kids do not always have to start, you know, with something that's said or done. Now it's bonded story time. I have a little story to tell you guys. Okay. And this is a situation involving myself and another girl. Now, throughout, you know, my time at school, I never got in trouble, never started anything, you know, kept to myself, you know, did things the way that I was supposed to. But there was this girl. I don't know what it was, but there was something about this girl that I didn't like. So what I would do when I would see her, I would push her. Now, granted, me and this girl, we never had an argument. We never had a fight. We never had any type of situation. I don't even think I had a class with her. Okay.
Mhm.
But when I would see this girl, I did not like her and I would push her and she would just look at me. I'm like, I don't like her. And I would just push her. Okay. So I did this all the time. I mean, even when we weren't at school. Okay. I remember listen, I'm telling you, I remember being at McDonald's and I saw her and I'm like, oh, there she is. I don't like her. And so I would push her. And one day I was at home and there's a knock on the door. So I go and I answer the door. And it's her and her mother at my freaking door.
Uh-oh.
And she already knew who I was. She was like, oh, Vonda. She goes, is your mom home? And I was like, shit.
Nope. She don't live here no more.
No,
As of yesterday.
being the honest kid that I am, I'm like, okay, hold on. So I go and I get my mom. My mom comes out and she's like, because my mom never had trouble with me. So she's like looking at this mother. She's looking at this daughter. Me and the girl didn't even speak. We weren't even friends. So the mother proceeds to go through this whole story and tell my mother, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but, Nicole's been coming home and, she's just saying that, Vonda is like pushing her for no reason. And I'm sitting there with my LTSs, lips to the side, just sitting there like, what? They're just wasting my time. I have homework and I'm just sitting there listening to this story. I didn't object. I didn't say anything. And my mom, she's listening. And then she looks at me and she's like, Vonda. My mom was so freaking shocked because I've never exhibited any type of behavior like this. And she goes, Vonda, is this true? And I go, yeah. She goes, why? She goes, why are you doing this? I don't know. That was my answer. So, the mothers, they both talk and my mom's like, I don't know what's going on with her. She's never done anything like this before. And, the mother was like, well, from what I understand, she's a studious child. She does her work. I don't know what the problem is. And so basically it was decided at that moment, because the mothers came together, it was decided at that moment that, my mom would talk to me and, I didn't have a gripe with this chick. I had absolutely no problem with her other than I just didn't like her on sight. So I would push her and she wasn't going to fight me. I mean, she could have just took off on me and just, fought me, but, we didn't fight, And so it was agreed basically that I wouldn't do this. And the only reason why this thing even worked was because I was confronted. And I did not have a freaking leg or a crutch to stand on by which I couldn't even pull anything out of my crack and say, oh, this is why I had absolutely no reason. I mean, I was completely honest. I was like, I don't know. So basically, because I was confronted and I had no reason for doing this, the behavior or the misbehavior, it stopped. It automatically disappeared because my mom was like, basically, look, I am not about to be having people's parents come knocking on my door to talk to me about you and some stuff that you're doing that's absolutely just wrong. And you don't even know why you're doing it. So my thing was, when I was talking originally, I was thinking, well, maybe if the parents had came together, they were able to talk, because my mom was just literally like, I mean, mouth just hanging open. She was just shocked, and I wasn't aggressive. I just sat there like, I can't believe they're here at my house. What the hell is this? I never expected this girl to go home and say, Mom, there's this girl that keeps pushing me and I don't know why she keeps pushing me. The average, probably black mom would have said, well, knock her damn head off if she pushes you again.
Mm-hmm.
This girl's mom didn't do that. She was like, you know what? We're going to go to her house and we're going to talk to her mom. My mom was just
Mhm.
not for that at all. Don't be
Mhm.
having nobody and they mama coming to my house to talk to me about some mess that you're doing and you know you shouldn't be doing it. And I knew I was
Mhm.
wrong. The minute I saw this lady at my door, I was like, oh my
Damn.
God,
Yep.
what the hell? So,
Damn.
I mean, the jig was up for me. I had to like confront it. It was in my face. I had no reason to treat this girl like this. Like I said, I couldn't even pull anything out my behind to say, oh, it was because she got an A and I got a B minus. It was nothing like that. I was just being a mean little girl. I was just being mean,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and I had no reason to
Shame.
do it. So the
Right.
mothers talked. It was settled. I never went towards this girl ever again. Never went towards her
Mhm.
again. The problem was it was like it was like it didn't exist. It was one day it was an issue. The next day it did not exist.
Right.
Okay.
But I'll say this, Vonda, a big difference between your experience, right, and these kids is that these kids were friends for like 4 years on and off, right? So clearly they're close friends and they fall out easily with each other. So that's why they're friends on and off, right? But the point is they were friends. And unlike your story where you were just mean and aggressive from jump for no good reason, but it wasn't an escalating thing, it wasn't an extreme thing, right? Which is why you really didn't expect the fallout of it. I just pushed her. Right? She didn't break nothing, she's fine, right? But in this case, it's like you got these kids who've been friends for 4 years on and off, who fall out with each other for the last 4 years on and off, never had anything like this happen for the 4 years they've been falling out with each other, and getting back together as friends. And then suddenly you have a huge, massive, violent incident, which is in essence, he was punched. Yes, it was only one hit. Kid strong as hell, right? Which floored him. His face probably hit the floor, knocked out his tooth. It was a big deal, right?
Mhm.
So you kind of look at that and you say, well, these kids do know each other though, and they're friends, or they were. These kids do fall out with each other. So they like to argue, or they, don't necessarily get along about everything, but normally they do it peaceably. And then this one time, it ends up like this, right? And so
Yeah.
that's where, like, I mean, you think about it, if you and that little girl were friends, you guys are friends with each other, y'all are cool, you hang out, you're playing with each other and whatever. And then one day you start pushing her and you're not, and then you start doing that, you probably would say, well, she did something to you, right? Like she might not know the things she did, right? And you might not have wanted to talk to her about it, but now you're going to be petty and mean because she hurt your feelings somehow, right? Like we don't normally treat our friends like that unless some type of insult or offense happens. And that's why I think this is a little different than your scenario in this case, you know? Um, I mean, I do think, not that I think life is an after school special, right? But I do think that if y'all, the two of you, the kids, had been put into a room to play, because this happened like with Ashley on Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but I do think it actually works. You make the kids go and sit with each other and have to talk to each other and play with each other. And then you can figure out, like, you probably, like you said, you didn't know, there was no reason, but there might have been a subconscious reason you weren't even aware of. There's just
Yeah.
something. She was wearing socks that day that reminded you of your big bully cousin who bothered you all the time. And so you wanted to be able to finally push that cousin back. So you did, and it felt good. You might have figured out what it was if you guys had had the chance to really interact. But because you never did and you let it go so easily, just kind of like, no reason. That's fine.
Yeah. Because it was a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it was, you looked at her and something triggered whatever that was. Something she had,
Mm-hmm.
something that you wanted that she had, something that you wish you looked like.
Yes.
Something had happened, whatever it was. But we'll never know. We'll never
Mm-hmm.
know. I can try to hypnotize you and find out and take you
Mm-hmm.
back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was definitely nothing that was tangible. Like I say, this was a girl that I knew at school, and she just looking at her just irked my soul So I just thought it would be a great idea to push her. And the fact that she didn't do anything made me want to push her again and again and again. Now, had she brought my head to me maybe the first time I pushed her, we had a fight, maybe I wouldn't have messed with her no more. But the fact that she didn't do anything, I was just like, I don't like her again today. I'm gonna push her. I don't know where that came from, because I am not that person. But what I'm saying is that sometimes kids do things and it's like, why would you do that? I don't know. I have no idea, Mother. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had no answers. None. I was just silent.
Which must have been just baffling to your parents. But see, that's the thing. Kids are normally reacting very impulsively. The impulse control centers of their brain are like nowhere near developed. And it could be a very fleeting emotion, a very fleeting thought. Like I said, a subconscious thought you're not even really in touch with unless someone forces you to get in touch with it. So, there's a lot of, now, to be fair, right? This obviously it's not something that the girl intentionally antagonized. That is to say, because the whole point of your point was the little girl didn't do anything to you. She didn't do you anything that you'd be like, I was retaliating against her, right? Sure. And it doesn't always have to be that, right? Because it can be just, I'm angry at you because, again, you have something I want, and I'm upset that I don't have that thing. You remind me of something that hurts my feelings. Someone talked to you that I wish would talk to me, right? Kids are very petty. That's why they're hellion little monsters, right? They're terrible. And half of the time they can't explain themselves because they don't even know why they did it. They knew right then in that moment. If you had asked them in the middle of pushing, they could tell you why they're pushing. As soon as the push is over, they're over it. They're on to something else now, right? They're thinking about that thing over there. So, and then teenagers, my God, you mix hormones into that? Woo! Right? But I will say one thing that boys have that we are lucky not to have as much of is testosterone.
Yes.
And right? Testosterone makes them full of ego, very heady, and very driven to defend themselves. And they don't have enough reasoning and impulse control skills yet. Which is why they act the way they do when they're like tweens and early teenagers, right? Their ego gets hurt easily, and then they want to fight about everything. And that's where, fine, we do agree defendant's mom needs to be a little bit more, sorry about stuff, but the boys will be boys part of it, I do think is valid. You're going to sit there and criminalize, penalize, and litigize every single boy fight that happens in America. My God, the courts would be clogged up for the next 30 years, right? They'd have their own teenagers by the time their cases got solved. Like, come on, that's what they do. Right?
Yeah, and they become best friends.
Right. Yes, exactly. So sometimes they become best friends, and sometimes it goes tragically wrong. This kid only punched him once in the face. Ain't his fault that he's that strong and the kid's face hit the floor. It's not like he was stomping on him. You know what I mean? Like, he was just, the kid fell wrong. Sorry.
It went low, 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 low.
So, okay. So do you think it's possible that, somehow or another, these kids, they had some sort of a back and forth, and maybe, the short guy was like, oh, that's why your mama's on welfare. Just who knows? He said something about the boy's mother, and that boy was like, oh no. And he just took off on him. 2 hits, one to the face, and then his head hitting the ground. And that was it.
Yeah, because they were already aggravated, right? Because they already had right, from earlier. They already had an altercation verbally from earlier. And then, I'm still confused about what the plaintiff said. So she said that the only reason why this happened is because he was mad that my son hit him back. So that means they've already thrown blows today and no one did anything about it? Because that's what she said, right? She said, the only reason why he hit my son is because he was mad that my son had hit him back.
That's from earlier, yes.
Right? So, that means things were already contentious. Do I think that whole time this kid just walked around and said, I'm just gonna wait for my moment and punch him back? No, I don't. And do I think the nerd kid just calmed down, that he fine? No, right? Because that's not the way teenagers work, right? They just keep pushing at each
it
other.
seems like he crossed the line when he said something about his mama. And
Yeah.
I think that was the catalyst right there. Maybe they were, doing some skinning and grinning with each other, and then the little one was like, "Oh, that's why your mama's, this, that, and the third." And he was like, "You know what? Okay, bop," and that was it. That was it.
Yes, I would love to see the pictures of these women because, like, for example, maybe plaintiff's mom is married, defendant's mom is not. Maybe defendant's mom is younger, so she was a teen mom, whereas in the plaintiff's mom is not, right? So there's all kinds of ways that we can find to justify calling people's moms hoes, right? Around that age, we call this one girl's mom a hoe, like, so regularly and consistently and persistently for no good reason. Now, to be fair, she was a prostitute, literally was a prostitute. But, like, was it fair that we did what we did for no good reason? No, right? Because kids are jerks. That's what kids do. So again, now this kid, y'all are friends, so you know stuff. So if this kid complained, my mama, this is the third man my mom brought home this year, right? Now you know his secrets, which means when y'all fall out, you know what secrets to use against him about his mama.
Right.
And I think that's what happened. Yep.
It can go as far as the parents talking about the woman in the house and the son hearing about it. That could be something, because mama could be on the phone. Yeah, girl. And Travanius mama, girl, did y'all hear that she did such and such and much and much? And he could hear that,
Right. See, you know what? And that's absolutely the thing, right? Because if it was easy, if the insult was easy, your mama a hoe, right? Man, we know that's been said since the dawn of time. You might not be happy to tell your mom that's what was said, but you wouldn't protect her from it. So I feel like it's more specific. The thing that was said about the mom was more specific. The defendant's mom has a good idea what that thing might be, because she ain't proud of it. Maybe it's stripping in her history, something she's not proud of. Her son probably got wind
just go for the juggler.
Yeah. That's true. Because that's what makes sense, right? And so now and then he said something about you. What is it? Right? This is a very serious situation. For him to not tell his mom, it couldn't be you called my mom a bitch, you called my mom a hoe. It couldn't be something like that.
You're right. It was very specific. I mean, like Emmanuel said, mama jokes are pretty much a guaranteed fade. And this little boy, he really pushed it when he said what he said about dude's mom. And it was so bad that, he didn't want to even say it, because I mean, most kids be like, oh, he called you a bitch, mom. And, be like, oh, don't be fighting nobody because they said that. He said something specific about the mom.
Right.
Yep.
And
true. Specific and true.
It was specific and true. He was like, look, don't spreading our business. So he had to pop him one for it.
Exactly. Right. And then again, someone should have taught this kid how to fall properly. Right. If you get punched, listen, there's no 12-year-old who's punching you. I don't care. He's 6'3". He's still a 12-year-old. In fact, if anything, I would bank on the one who's still in his 5'5" range. I would bank on him to win a fight. Why? Because if you're 12 and like 6 feet tall, that means you just went through a bunch of growth spurts, which means you're gangly and awkward as hell, which means you don't move your body as effectively. Okay. So now I don't care how strong he is. He's an awkward 12-year-old who threw a punch. You're trying to tell me one awkward 12-year-old threw a punch that was so powerful and knocked someone's tooth out? Are you serious? No, there's no way that happened. His tooth got knocked out when he hit the floor. Okay. Which means he fell wrong. Don't fall on your face next time. You got punched in your face. How did you fall on your face? That doesn't make any sense to me. Right. So now again, I'm not defending. I'm just saying, clearly, no one has taught this boy about fighting and defending himself and whatever. And he's going to need those skills. And so again, does it take away from who wins or whatever? No, but to sit there and be in denial. Well, my kid's a good kid. He's a nerdy kid, so he don't need to fight because he don't fight. Like, what reality do you live in that the nerdy kid in America, the black nerdy kid in America, doesn't need to know how to fight? Where is that?
But
Explain.
see, I feel for the plaintiff mom only because when you have a child, you create a human being, and you send that child out. You don't expect your child for anyone to put their hands, upon your child in any type of a violent way. And you're at work, you get a call that, oh, your son's he's on his way to the hospital. He's okay, but his tooth is broken, and he's got a bit of a concussion, so we do need to get him to the hospital. That is your child. Your child is broken. Someone else actually put their hands on your child and broke your baby. And as a mother, you know what? Regardless of whether she even knew what happened, I get a call. My son's tooth is knocked out. He has a concussion and he's in the hospital. I want answers, damn it. And I want, heads to roll, because my child has been broken. There's been bodily harm inflicted upon my child. Now, granted, I don't know the story, but I'm like, no one has a right to put that upon my kid, and then I find it's Jordan. Jordan done did this again to somebody else's kid. Then it's like, oh, hell no, with his big self, and my son is, 4'11", this is just not right, and then, who knows? We don't know if she tried to talk to the mother and she's like, I'm going to call Erlene and see. Erlene, oh, the boys will be boys. Don't worry about it. And she's just probably blowing it off because her son was not on the receiving end of a broken tooth.
Yeah, you know what though? If I was the mom, right, because what popped into my head first is the cost of fixing the tooth, and how annoyed I am that that's going to happen. This is the first thing that popped in my head. This is why I think that boys, right, because he's not at 7, he's not a baby, he's 12. So this is why I think boys and fathers, right, because at the end of the day, a dad is going to react to this differently than a mom is, right? Because to a mom, that's always your baby. Right? And you want to protect him and coddle him and cuddle him and whatever. But that's not what men need. And he's a young man. He's growing into a young man. And a young man needs to be able to defend himself. Now, I'm not saying you teach that young man to go out and be violent, but a young man, he should be prepared to physically defend himself, to physically protect himself, to be able to effectively do that. And, to not just be, treated with the kid gloves and all the fear and the nurturing and the mommying that you would get from this, right? I get the mom's reaction. I get it because you're a mommy. But, on the other side, there's that very real, okay, they're 12-year-old boys fight. 17-year-old boys fight more. So if this is what happened with the first one, man, we gotta get him some kung fu, karate, something that teaches him some self-defense and gives him some confidence physically, because we can't keep breaking teeth. That's expensive, right? That's how I think of it, right? So
it's very expensive. It's very expensive. My son actually, was riding his bike, and he was riding it, and he wasn't supposed to. He actually hit a car and he broke his tooth. That was the most expensive tooth in my life. It was an adult tooth. So of course I wasn't going to have my son running around with not a front tooth. So I had to spend a lot of money to get that tooth fixed. And it was heartbreaking to the pocketbook. It was heartbreaking that, oh my God, my son is going through this. But that's, maybe that's just the over, coddling of a mother. Because my husband was like, oh, he'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, my baby is broken and his lip is swollen and his tooth is broken. And I was thinking about what he was going to look like with no tooth. So it was just a whole thing. It was a whole process. But when you find out another person inflicted this on your child, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God. I just really think that if the mothers could have had a decent discussion, which I don't think that ever happened, that did not happen. And one mother was too overly concerned. The other mother was not concerned enough. So the place where they were able to meet in the middle was at Greg Mathis's courtroom. And
Which wasn't the middle, because he was biased. He was biased, and which kind of pissed me off too a little bit. Like, is he turning into a feminist? I don't get it. Because how are you so? No, I'm for real. How are you that? What? The kid threw one punch, and you're that biased against him? Like, come on now, right? Which is again why I think maybe the defendant mom is a single mother, so she feels she has to approach things with a more hardened approach because there's not a father in the picture. So she can't go pure baby, like poor baby, something broken. She's got to feel a little tougher about the kid, and a little tougher about boys and whatever, because she's got to try to see the masculine perspective if there isn't a male role model inside of this boy's life. Whereas in the mother, that's the plaintiff mother, I think that there is a father in the life at the very least, if not married. Why? Because she's allowed to be so fully feminine, right? So fully over coddling and overprotective and da da da. And it's like, I don't know, because I kind of have the same attitude and approach, like the boys will be boys thing. Like, kids fight, and like no one inflicted this on you. You're both 12-year-old boys who got into a fight. I don't see that as like a big deal. 12-year-old boys fight. He didn't pull a knife on him. He didn't stomp him into the ground. He threw one punch. One. Like, really? He's a monster now because he threw one punch?
Yes, he is.
Oh no!
Baby. He broke my baby. That's how a mother feels. You broke my baby, and it just breaks my heart. My baby is broken, and you did it.
Yes, I like that. At least you're honest.
Okay.
But I mean, I think, okay, I get it, right? I do get it. But on the other side, I guess I also take a more global view now. To be fair, I don't have children yet, so and I am very defensive and protective of the children I love. Right? I don't have any of my own yet, but I will say this: that again, my approach to protecting my baby when he just showed that he can't protect himself is now I got to teach you how to protect yourself, because it obviously is not coming naturally, right? I can't protect you from the world. I can't protect you from reality. And the reality is kids fight, right? The reality is that you got to be able to, as a man, throw a punch to defend yourself from a punch. You need to be able to fall properly. Like, these are things. So you know what, young man, I got to get you into something so you can protect yourself, because it's not coming naturally and there's going to be more of this in your future. So, my protection just looks a little bit differently. Like, I'm not going to demonize another young Black boy for being a boy. And this is what boys do. Man, this is what teenagers do. You trying to tell me you don't see girls fight? Please. Please.
I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm going to tell you, girls are a lot rougher than this. Girls are a lot rougher than this. I'm talking, there are bald patches in your head. Your face is all scratched up. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with the girls. I mean, thank God it wasn't girls. It was just a tooth and a couple of hits, Granted, these are, life-changing hits, because he's forever going to have a prosthetic tooth, where that other tooth is gone if they weren't able to save it. He'll always remember, I remember when Jordan knocked my tooth out when we was 12 and our moms went to court, and whatnot.
Yeah. But like, Jordan knocked the tooth out. The floor did. Let's be real. And let's look at
Jordan facilitated it.
The floor.
No, okay, I want y'all to think about it, right? Because to me, especially when we're talking about kids, we do have to look at the actor and what he actually did. Because there's 3 ways that tooth could have come out, right? So maybe Jordan picked up a bat and swung it at the other kid's face. The tooth comes out. he intended to do serious damage. You know a bat's going to do serious damage to a human head at 12 years old, right? Then there's you punch the kid in the face, right? You don't think at 12 years old you have the power to knock all his teeth out and blah, blah, blah. You angry, and so you hitting him. This is now the third punch that's gone on between the two of y'all. Y'all probably have hit each other before in your last 3-4 years. It was never really serious, right? The kid falls and smacks his face into the ground. Tooth comes out. Third option. You know what? I just want to play a little practical joke. So when a kid is walking by, my friend even, I stick my foot out in his path. He trips over my foot because there's a tray in his hands. His face hits the ground. Boom, tooth comes out. All of them have the same end result, right? But we should look at those three different situations differently. We can't judge the kid based on the end result and demonize the kid based on the end result. We have to look at, well, how did we get to the end result? And a kid throwing a punch when he's mad and they're in obviously they're both being aggressive and angry at each other is not a terrible, like, oh, that kid's terrible. Let's treat him like he's terrible now. Let's treat him like he's a violent offender now. Like, he's not. Like, he threw a punch.
True. And then there was a game they had played earlier. I'm going to play some more of the clips so we can hear that.
Okay.
Be reminded of it.
Laughing. Was the child hospitalized overnight?
I don't know. When I got the phone call.
Oh, you don't know. Do you have any evidence that he was hospitalized?
This ambulance.
Did you tell her?
Oh, I tried to.
You told her? Or did the school tell her that the child was hospitalized?
Her son was suspended. Mine wasn't. Yes. Ain't nobody tell me this. Dominier was hospitalized.
No one told you he was
nobody
injured?
ever told me.
This is the first time? Don't interrupt me. Like you over there laughing while she's describing her son got a concussion, left school for 7 days, hospitalized overnight. And while she's telling me this, you're laughing. And now that I want to ask about it, you want to interrupt me. Once again, did you ever hear that her son had a concussion?
Like when I got the police report back in, what was it, February?
In February. Yet you come in here laughing at your son, giving him a concussion. It's funny to you. Go ahead, man. Finish.
This right here says that he had to go to the hospital. This is the bill. I brought his evidence. This is the police report.
And that's all you're suing for is the bill?
Yes, not the court fees, not the hospital stay, none of that. Just what would be on my credit.
Hear from you.
Okay, Your Honor. To set the record straight, I wasn't laughing that her son was hurt in this whole situation. It's funny that she keeps saying it was no altercation, which it was. These boys has been friends since the 4th grade. Off and on friends since the 4th grade.
She said it was an altercation. She said your son busted him upside the head.
Which is not the truth.
Busted him and gave him a concussion and had him hospitalized. What do you mean no altercation? You weren't listening. You were too busy laughing. No. That is altercation. I got news for you.
The altercation from 4th grade, they was on and off again friends, and it was an altercation at this time of the incident. I'm not sitting here trying to say my son is perfect. Boys make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. Everybody go through things. On this day in question, the kids were sitting in the lunchroom, Dominier, my son, and a few other kids, and they was playing this game called Neck. I don't condone hitting, period.
Neck?
Yes, it's a game that the boys play where they hit each other on the neck and think it's funny. I don't condone it at all. I never have. So after that, they was walking out the lunchroom. Dominier called my son out his name, talked about my son because he don't have the latest gear. I buy what I can afford. And he also called me a few things that my son won't tell me so he could spare my feelings.
Okay, so there was a game where they were popping each other on the neck.
Oh, hell no. You know what?
That's so dumb.
That is a horrible game. That game's been around for centuries, I would imagine. And as a kid, You know what? If you pop me on my neck, it's gonna be a serious fight in the dirt. We gonna be in the dirt. I as a kid didn't like to play those games because little kids are not fair. They're
Nope.
they're
Nope.
not fair. They will hit you in the back of your neck when you ain't ready. They will hit you when you're drinking your milk. No, the kids are not fair. And then on top of that, I think what it was, the little one probably got the big one in the back of his neck real good. And the big one was like, oh, hell no. Nah. And that's why your mama, bought you, Payless shoes, or whatever. Who knows if he made fun about his gear. He was like, you know what? Not only did you sneak me in the back of my neck and got me good, now you got the nerve to be trying to talk about my gear. I mean, it was just a level of that was in that instance, if it happened like that, that was a level of boys being boys. I think the seriousness just came with, he gave him the 1-2, alley-oop. That punch just was too much. He took all the anger from the bottom of his gut and it transferred into his hand. So when he hit homeboy and like Ruby say, he fell wrong. He hit that floor and knock his own tooth out. It was a little bit too much for the whole situation.
Right.
I mean, and this is the problem with these stupid games that these kids play in general, is the games are designed in such a way, really they're just there to allow teenagers to blow off steam. And some of that steam comes from, yes, being able to just hit each other for free. But some of it comes from the fact that it's guaranteed some people are going to flip out. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of yelling and screaming and tension and whatever. But you're getting that out of your system, right? This is why they like to play these games. This is why they like to play fight. This is why they like to do aggressive sports, right? So overall, and that's what I mean, we're taking the situation too much out of context. Judge Joe is angry because the woman was laughing. And so he's just not willing to hear nothing anymore on that side. And so as a result, we didn't get to hear a little bit more of this expanded. The story got kind of dismissed. Like, you don't think that this makes sense? This makes way more sense to me, right? In fact, now hearing her story a second time, it makes even more sense than it did the first time.
And you know what? To me, it does too. But my thing is that we're talking about the children, and you know what? I agree. Children will be children. But these are adult women. And you know what? I don't give a damn who you are. When you're coming to court, you need to behave accordingly. And maybe that was a bad call for her to sit there and be laughing while the story is being told. Because as you're talking about this boy's injuries, they're not just subtle. A scratch on the nose or a bruise on the arm. These are not subtle injuries. These are concussions and bodily harm, meaning a freaking tooth was knocked out. So if she has shown a little bit more respect to the court, showed a little bit more concern to the child, things could have gone differently. To be honest, I think those kids at the end of the day were going to do what they did because kids do that. We're not friends today, and then tomorrow we're best friends. Or we're best friends today, and tomorrow they're not speaking. So with that being said, I'm going to put it on the damn parents. You guys did not have enough adultism in you to sit down and be able to talk this through. Because had the mother sat down and talked about this, rather than saying, my son's the victim, your son's not a victim, they could have actually resolved this to where it would not have even come to this. It could. I think it's the mothers. I blame the mothers because I bet you tomorrow those boys are friends.
Yeah, they're probably already friends again, right? It's been a while. So.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Dang, mom's is going to court tomorrow, and they over there playing video games or something, and they got to go to court." But I mean. It's just a lack of respect, defending mom. I think she showed a lack of respect. I mean, when you're in court, you got to behave accordingly. I don't care who you are and what you think the situation is. You better know where you are and don't forget.
Right. And I agree with that, but I'll say this, you know, you're looking the which is fair. She shouldn't have been laughing, but it just sounded so ludicrous to her how much this plaintiff mom was just so over exaggerating, because that's what it sounded like to me. Like, you're a little bit extra, lady. Any kid who has a suspected concussion is held overnight for observation. Every kid, even if you don't have a concussion, you are held overnight for observation if you hit your head as a child. That is standard. A. B. Tooth got knocked out, yes, but it wasn't from the force of that little 12-year-old fist. It was from the force of the kid's face hitting the ground. Not fun, but hey, kids regularly hit the ground with a lot of force because they're idiots and they do stupid stuff trying to test their boundaries, right? I mean, man, toddlers hit the ground face first just because they're running and trip on their own feet. So I think what it was is a perspective thing. She's listening to this woman try to describe her kid like her kid is this mean, aggressive, savage felon who is like 10 years older, who attacked and preyed upon this poor innocent victim child in the school and just punched him for no reason so violently. And look how horrible it was. Oh my God, my poor kid, that evil savage, and what he did. And she's hearing it like that, and she's laughing because it sounds ludicrous as hell to her, because this is two boys who are the same age, in the same grade. Her kid just recently had a growth spurt, but so what? Who got mad at each other after playing a game with each other, and they were gonna duke it out. Only the first duke made this kid hit the ground, and the tooth came out, and that was bad. Okay, fine. To be fair, I doubt the kid had a concussion. Why do I doubt the kid had a concussion? I think he was held again for observation to make sure he didn't have a concussion, but I don't think he had one. Here's why I don't think he had one. I do not believe that 12-year-old boy had the force, I don't, for him to punch that kid and make him lose a tooth. I don't. I don't care. No one can convince me otherwise. The only way that tooth came out is if his face hit the ground. So if his face hit the ground in a way that his tooth is coming out, then that means his head, his skull, where his brain is, did not hit the ground. Therefore, the kid did not have a concussion. Therefore, this woman, because the kid was held overnight for observation to make sure he didn't have a concussion, because they always do it as a safety protocol for children, right? At the end of the day, I mean, whether the kid has a concussion or not, you're still going to get charged the exact same amount for the overnight. I get it, but still, right? Like, and this is where I say, I'm like, no, the plaintiff is sitting there going out of her way to demonize the other kid, to play up her poor innocent victim's son status, and then to play up the injuries. Now, I'm sorry, like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, well, who cares about a tooth? But yeah, kind of. Like, I don't think that the injuries are as serious as we're talking about them being. They're not.
I have two things to say.
Mm-hmm.
I am a person that will laugh. I am a giggler, and I have laughed at times and places and at things that had nothing to do with being funny. It was the way I interpret it or the way it sound. And it can be insulting to the person that hears me laughing. I mean no harm, but I am a giggler, and that does happen. So I'll give you that for one. And then two, if you have an insurance claim and Ruby is the one that's doing investigation, more than likely you will not get paid. That is all.
For real. You know what, Cher? I
denied. Claim
no, straight up denied. No, I smile and I laugh when I'm in trouble. So if I've done something wrong and you catch me, my first reaction is to smile or to laugh, which it should be my last reaction, right? But it's not. It's my first reaction. I'm going to smile or laugh when I've done something wrong and I'm caught in doing something wrong. That's why I work so hard not to do anything really wrong in relationships, because it's not on purpose. It's just my react. And I guess because I'm not a smiley, laughy person, like just overall. So it's so out of context. So it makes it seem like I think it's hilarious. And I
Mhm.
don't think it's hilarious that I've done this terrible thing and now you're really angry at me. I hate being in the wrong. I hate when I've done something terrible. I feel so bad and so guilty, but I can't help but smile and laugh. So I go out of my way to try not to do anything wrong. That way I'm not put in that position because it doesn't work out well for me, right? Because then you're going to be like, oh, Ruby, you cheated on me. And I'm going to smile. And then you're going to talk. You think it's funny, and then I'm going to giggle. It's not going to go well for me, right? So, like, I can't do
Not at
anything
all.
wrong in relationships.
Pretty sure.
But only when I'm in trouble. Anything else, I'll react to like a normal human, right? Just like some people laugh at funerals. Actually, me and my sister laughed at my grandmother's funeral. This is so terrible. It's not something you should be laughing at. But I mean, trust me, the whole rest of this funeral was horrible. Sobbing uncontrollably, like I had to be held up, standing up at one point and everything, right? And so
Mhm.
now we get to the place, and my grandmother has been talking about for decades. She wants to be in the wall. We've even visited the wall before to visit her neighbors, quote unquote. So we knew she was going in this wall, but we had never seen anyone be put into the wall. And so now you have all of the pallbearers, some of whom are really not that strong, like my little cousin, who's a girl, or her father, who has a bad back. And so anyway, now they have to get my
Oh my
grandmother.
God, I'm starting to already laugh because I can just imagine the scene.
I have to let you know, my uncle and my auntie both have bad backs. So most of these pallbearers are always out for the count. So, and of course, my grandmother's spot is not like on the ground or whatever. It's kind of like in the middle. So you have to lift her up from the thing that's holding the coffin. And you have to lift it up about, we'll say 6 inches, and then slide it forward into this hole. Okay. And so we're fascinated to begin with the, like, them opening the hole and whatever. We thought it was like, solid like concrete. It's really not. And so, yeah, so now, oh my guys, the struggle. It was a struggle. They could barely get it up high enough, and then it was like almost angled, so it wasn't going in right. And they're struggling, and like there's moments where we thought for sure they're gonna drop her, and me and my sister are laughing hysterically, and we're trying so hard to like bury our faces so no one can hear us laughing. We're laughing hysterically. It looks like a comedy show. Like it looks like they planned this for comedic relief. It
Oh
was
my God. You know
funniest
what?
minute. Oh my God.
I got kicked out.
I
'Cause I
totally
was laughing.
see that, Ruby. I can totally see that. And you know
Yeah.
what? I would have been right there only because, with how devastated, I'm sure you guys were with the loss of your grandmother. And then to see this, like, if y'all don't get your backs together, who told you to be a pallbearer trying to put grandma
Mhm.
up in the wall and you knew you weren't ready? It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, at one point, my cousin's father, like, he was even holding on to the thing, and they're like, you gotta lift. Like, and yo, it was such a disaster. And the thing is, like, you don't understand. We were all trying, we were crying in the car because we had to kind of drive over from where the actual funeral was to like where the wall is. And we're crying in the car. We're scared to go in. Like, we were like staring at it, like all terrified, this looming hole. And like, we were so, you have to understand how traumatized and upset we were. So for this comedy show to then start, and we're like front row and center, right? Like we're
Mhm.
standing right where the hole is, so we can see all the action. Oh my God. That was literally one of the funniest things I've ever. It was just me and my sister. Everyone else is still standing there. I don't know what they were thinking. But me and my sister laughing hysterically. My aunt, being one of the pallbearers, is just staring at me. If she could have killed me, she would have. Right? She's already not talking to me. She already hates me. So me laughing at their struggle was not making it better. But it was so funny. I couldn't help it. So yes, my point is, people laugh at inappropriate times and in
Yeah.
inappropriate situations,
That's
at
true.
things. You're in a very serious scenario, a very serious setting, and then when one thing strikes you as even remotely funny, you start laughing
Mhm.
uncontrollably because it's like almost like the juxtaposition of all this seriousness and tension and stress, and then one thing's funny and you can't help it. Like you gotta
Mhm.
laugh, right? So I don't penalize her too hard for laughing, especially because, like I said, what she's laughing at, I agree with. I think it's ridiculous how this woman is going on about her poor, innocent, nerdy kid. And then what bothers me more, right? Because obviously both of these women, again, lying, lacking a little bit of accountability and whatever. But the plaintiff mom, she is the worst offender to me. Because even as woman, you won. You're getting your money. You can say whatever you want now at this point, and you still won. And even then, you can't take zero accountability for your kid. You can't even say for 2 seconds, maybe your kid was also not an angel. Maybe your kid also was in the wrong. You can't even do that. You can't even, like, to me, that woman is setting her kid up for not great things in the world because she really believes that her kid is perfect. Her kid could do no wrong. If her kid's ever in a bad scenario, it's always everyone else's fault. And she's pushing that on to her kid. Her kid just listened to her do that in court. And that's what she's probably been doing his whole life. How does that help your child? When even in a court of law, when you think if this happens now, and now he's facing a court of law, you think you standing up going, no, I know my kid's a good kid. My kid would never do what you're accusing him of doing. You think they're just gonna send him home now? Because you just said so? Because your kid's a good kid? Like, that's not the way life works. And I don't think she's properly preparing him to be accountable in this world. He knows no matter what he does, Mama's gonna is gonna come to his rescue. Mama's gonna defend him. Mama's gonna, get him out of it. Mama's gonna make him the innocent angel. And he believes now at this point, this is his first interaction with the court of law. He believes that's gonna work. That is a dangerous thing for a young Black boy to believe in this world, that his mama lying, well, not even lying. She doesn't think she's lying, but his mama's delusion can save him from everything. And that's a very dangerous thing to believe. Very
Yeah,
dangerous.
Well,
I agree.
I would definitely agree with that. And like I say, I truly do not feel like she was just trying to save her boy just because she didn't feel like he was, at fault. I think it's because her child, somebody broke her baby. Somebody broke him. And this woman is sitting over here laughing at his concussion and everything. I'm glad I took her to, court about this. I just feel these women should have gotten, at some point, they should have talked,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually
Yeah.
shows the immaturity of the women. The
Yeah.
women
Yes.
were very immature, that they couldn't even really come together, because these boys are like we said, they sitting right now while they mamas at court, they done already made up. The mess is over with. Yeah, my tooth is gone. And he probably ain't even mad about that. He's like, yeah, I shouldn't have called your mom a slut. Whatever
Right.
it was he called his mom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He said something really horrible about this boy's mom, so much that this boy didn't even want to tell his mama what this boy said.
Right.
But she's known of who this boy was since 4th grade.
Right.
They've been friends. They didn't just become friends. They've been friends.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, it just escalated into something else. It escalated into something else. Maybe if the mom was like concerned, it's like, oh my God, he was in a hospital. Is he okay? You know how these boys are, that it could have just went a whole different way. It was the immaturity of these mothers. The boys did exactly what they were supposed to do in their immature ages at the age of 12. What do you expect a 12-year-old to do?
Yeah. And I mean, I do agree with that. I want to add to that a little bit though, because again, if I look at the maturity levels, it sounds to me like, okay, so both of the women agree that the defendant mom called the plaintiff mom, right? Now they disagree on why, They disagree on what the content of the conversation was, although we don't go over it, right? But they both do agree that it was actually the defendant mom that called the plaintiff mom. Even if it was about when she received a bill, regardless of
True.
what it was for, the point is the woman whose kid was found at fault, given everything, whatever, did take that first step. So at
That's
that
true.
point, who can we really say that she's immature? She did try. She tried to not hold it an olive branch, but she tried to take that first step. You know, it seems to me like the plaintiff mom didn't feel like it was her responsibility to do anything except for sue her. Right? I'm going to sue your kid and prove your kid's wrong and prove my kid's right and da 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 da. Who knows what this is even setting her up for on another case or whatever, because she's not suing for hospital bills. She's not suing for anything else. That seems kind of weird to me. That seems shady to me.
Yeah.
You would only sue for one thing. Like
She said for whatever could show up on her credit. That's what she said. Those were her specific words. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I
Right.
guess she said, I'm going to pay the whatever, the deductible and everything else that I can't afford. Then you pay for that.
Right. Yeah, right. And what I'm wondering is, again, to me, that's very strange. So if you think your kid is as innocent as you say you think your kid is, right? Then why aren't you suing for the whole shebang? That seems weird to me. You still owe the hospital bill. It's not going to hit your credit, but okay, you still owe them. It's not like you're not going to have to pay it. So why would you not want to sue for it?
Is that her way of saying, well, my son was at fault too?
That's what I'm wondering, right?
That could be it.
That's a good question. That's a very, very good question.
Yep. Right. So she's going to fight this to the death here in court because she got to win right now. But later, you know, when it's all said and done, no, I'm not going to publicly admit fault, but privately, I know what my kid told me. And my kid told me that my kid is at fault. That's what I think. I think that she knows a lot more, again, than she's admitting that she is. And then her kid admitted, like, yeah, no, I was a dick. Yeah, no, I definitely did exactly what he's accusing me of. Right? Like, I think she absolutely knows that.
She was like, what did you call Brenda? I called her a hood rat hoe, Mom. You know, who knows?
Yeah. Remember what you were talking to Auntie about? How she was a hoe and she didn't know who the daddy was, and it was between 4 guys. Yeah, I said that. Right? Like it's really something like extreme.
Yeah, you never know. I saw what you put on the social post, Mom, and I said that to him. That's what I said. That post you put up there. Or I saw you on YouTube talking about some hit the link, and you was talking about the woman. So I decided to, tell him that's what you had said, Mama.
Hit the link.
Hit the link. Hit the link.
Yeah, right. And this is the thing. Again, a lot of times we do not acknowledge how impressionable our children truly are and how much of an impact we have on their behavior. And I kind of get not publicly admitting it because my mom was like that. My mom, and the funny thing is, half the times my mom defended me, she was actually right to defend me because I actually was innocent, but she never believed I was innocent. So my mom would be like, okay, what is it this time? So I'm waiting outside of school for her to show up so we could go to the principal's office. I would tell her what it is that they said. I would tell her what I really did wrong or what I really said or did or whatever, right? She would tell me she didn't believe me. She would tell me before we even got into the principal's office. You get into the principal's office, my mom would talk about her innocent kid, how innocent her kid was, and how this is racial profiling or whatever it was.
Girl, your mom was on code. She was on code.
1,000% on code.
Okay.
Right? And then when we get home, now I'm dead, right? But in front of them people, I was never at fault in front of them people, right? That's just what it is. So, this woman might be like my mom, where it's like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm not going to sit there and put my kid's business all out. Yeah, my kid was wrong too, but no, publicly, my kid can do no wrong because I want my kid to go to Harvard one day, and someone's going to see this, and I want to make sure when they see this, my kid can still go to Harvard, right? So I mean, we might be dealing with a situation like that as well, right? Because some people are very aware of the fact that the internet lasts forever. All this stuff makes it to the internet. they don't want it to impact them and their kids' lives negatively forever, especially their kids. So, okay, I'm going to be very careful of what I'm willing to admit publicly. So we might be dealing with that. Might be.
That's what I'm guessing.
Hmm. Not 100% sure, because again, she gives me a vibe that tells me that, her kid can do no wrong, and she hasn't figured out that her 12-year-old is all grown up now. But it's possible. It's possible. So I'll give it the "it's possible" card. Yeah.
It's possible card.
Yeah, it's possible card. And I want to. I guess this is the thing. We're so busy defending our own, right? Defending our own kids, our own whatever, that we're not looking at it on a global level. And so we're not realizing that, hey, you might win this and you might be able to get the world to turn against this one Black kid in favor of your Black kid. But remember that every time you can convince the world that one Black kid is a savage, your kid's rating goes down a little bit too, right? Because they're still judging us all as one. So, you got to find a way of winning these debates, winning these arguments, winning these fights, especially if you're going to bring them out into the public, without, smearing another young Black kid, right? Because it's not helping it's temporarily your kid wins the battle, but everyone loses the war the more that we do that. And I think that's probably why I'm so anti that woman, right? Because to me, it's like, did you not think about what you're doing? Do you not realize what you're saying? And is automatically fighting against everything she's saying and dismissing it or playing it down, because I'm like, he's 12. I don't care how old he is. He's 12. These are the excuses that the cops use to come for our kids and treat them like adults. I don't care that he's 5'10" or 6'2" or what. He's 12. He's a baby still. No, he does not have the strength of a grown man. Stop trying to talk about it like he does. He doesn't. Everyone was just unlucky. Your kid was unbalanced when he got punched in the face. His face hit the ground. The end. Could have happened if a 7-year-old pushed him. Right? Like, I mean, let's stop. Let's stop so carelessly talking about our kids and not realizing the impact it could have.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's not your kid, someone else's kid. I get it. But again, even if you don't care, on a selfless level, care on the selfish level, that again, the more we can convince the world that our 12-year-olds are violent predators, the more that your 12-year-old is at risk.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I've like I said, it just makes me sad when I look at things overall, as far as if we're not going to be the responsible adult, whether we're a parent or not, we're impressionable to the young.
Yes.
And we owe it to those that come behind us. We just do. We are a small group of people, and we need to hold on to what we got. That's just the bottom line.
Yep, absolutely.
Did you have anything else to add, Vonda?
No, I mean, I totally get what Ruby's saying. I don't always agree with Ruby. I do feel that boy should be, held accountable, but I do feel like they both played a part, and it was this one who happened to be the underdog, and sometimes, the one who gets beat the worst, ends up being the victim, even though they could have been the aggressor. It just happens that way. But this also just, is another lesson that, sometimes we have to be very aware of, the things that we do, especially when we become adults, because this could be a completely different situation for him, if he weren't a 12-year-old, had he been 17, 18 years old, this could have been totally different. You cause bodily harm upon another person, and, he's not the one who sued you, but his guardian, which is his mother, is the one who did it. you know, and now she's, you know, because of, you know, now the bigger kid, you know, because of what I did, now I'm going to end up taking money out of my mom's pocket, you know, to take care of the situation. And then we still have the nerves to be friends, you know,
Yeah.
you know, which they probably are, you know, it was just one of those things. Kids will be kids, boys will be boys. It does happen. But it's just sometimes when it's, you know, like when it causes permanent damage, you know, and there's no accountability, you know, then you know what, it's left up to the parents, and whether the parents make the right decision or the wrong decision, that's neither here nor there. It's going to happen because it's not even in these boys' hands.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a fair point. And I mean, I will say, you know, as a former recovered bully, that
Oh,
yeah, that's right. That's right. I was a bully. But why was I a bully? I was a bully because I felt ostracized. I felt alone. And ultimately, while they were calling me a bully, a fair amount of teasing was the other way. As in, kids were making fun of me a lot. And I was very sensitive. And they were intentionally gunning for me so that way I could get angry. And so my response to that was obviously, yes, to get angry. But, you know, I'm bigger and stronger than them. So I'm going to hurt them. And that's what would happen. I end up hurting them. Now, again, does that mean I'm a bad kid or no? I was just a normal kid who had feelings. Okay. And this is the thing that it's like, it's almost like it's disregarded what the bully is going through, because we think about the bully being this person who's preying on the weak and the little. And we don't ever think about, well, why is the bully doing that? Right. And if we do, we go, oh, because of the parents. No, for me, I was doing it because the kids that I was bullying, well, actually, I used to also go for the 6th grade boys because I didn't really feel right beating up kids my own age because they were so much smaller than me. So like in the 2nd grade, I was beating up 6th grade boys. I would chase them to beat them up. But point is, you know, why was I doing that? Because the kids my age, they isolated me. They would make fun of me all the time. I remember one time I actually ended up running away from school after trying to catch them all. Now I was a little chubby, and they were smaller than me, so they could run faster. And I had braids, like extensions, and it took forever to put these damn extensions in. So I was really not trying to take them out. So as a result, they grew out a fair bit, and then everyone started calling me Bob Marley. Right now, yeah, I'm a tomboy and everything, but I'm not really appreciating being called a man, right? Like I'm not a man, I'm still a girl. And so they started singing, I swear to God, who's afraid? And remember, that means they all had to have learned this song, taught it to each other, practiced it, so that way my entire class could do it. They were singing, who's afraid of the big fat Bob, the big fat Bob, the big fat Bob, who's afraid of the big fat Bob? Not I. Yeah, that's what they're singing at me.
wow.
Right? Yeah. So now I'm trying to catch all the kids who are singing this in my face, right? But they're all doing it. So as soon as you turn around, that one runs away and another one comes and whatever, right? So I'm, again, thoroughly traumatized at this point. And when I couldn't catch anyone, I ran away from school. Like I just left. I left the campus. I was like 3rd grade. No one knew where I went, to get away from it, right? So it's like, that has a lasting impression on kids. So these kids saw me as a bully, but what did they think they were doing when they would do stuff like this to me constantly, like for years, right? Like I'm bullying because I'm stronger than you, so I could punch you in the face and hurt you, right? But you're not bullying when you're sitting there and constantly teasing me, constantly isolating me. I remember once when I was in 1st grade, and we were tracing shapes. So stars, moons, crescent moons, stuff like that. And so I had a friend, Marley. I only had one friend every year until like the 3rd, 4th grade. So my friend, Marley, she was also friends with this girl, Lauren. And Lauren was popular and Lauren hated me. So when Marley and Lauren decided they were going to draw a star, I said, okay, I'll draw a star too. And Lauren went, oh, well, then you know what? Stars are for losers. I'm not doing a star. Let's do crescent moons. So I said, okay, I want to do a crescent moon too. I just want to do what everyone else is doing. Like, I mean, you know, we're all at the same damn table. Marley is my friend. Like, why? And she kept changing her thing. She got to like the 3rd thing. And then she called the teacher and told the teacher that I'm copying her. And then the teacher said, okay, you need to stop copying. And then I got upset. Like, why the fuck do you care what I'm doing? Like, why can't I? There's like 4 shapes to choose from. Why am I in trouble for choosing the same one as Marley, even though Marley's doing the same one as Lauren? Why is that making me the bad person? So I freaked out, lost my shit altogether. So they called the principal because I refused to go to the principal's office. So they called the principal to come get me. Okay. And then, yeah, when the principal got there, he picked me up. And I was kicking, and one of my kicks landed square in his nuts. So he dropped me. Yeah. And then I ran away again. Literally, left school. So now here's the thing. Now, again, you could listen to that and be like, oh my God, what is this nightmare kid? But that was really important to me, and it was really hurtful to me, right? I didn't really know how to cope with those feelings, right? So then what did I do when I got back and people were teasing me about it? I would hit them, because that's how I can fight back. Y'all are fighting me for no reason by teasing me about something that happened because I was being ostracized for no reason, probably because I was Black. I don't know. And I was upset about it, and now you're going to tease me about it. And if I punch you, I'm the bully. Do you see what I'm saying? So I feel like we have to be careful with this bully word as well, because it normally doesn't paint a clear enough picture. It really doesn't tell us as much as we think it does, because as much as we would love to look at these situations like, well, yeah, there's a bully and there's the innocent kid and whatever, it's not normally like that. And normally bullies are reactionary. They're reacting to some type of hurt or some type of, emotion that they don't know how to deal with properly. And it's rare that, like in Vonda's case, that's a rare case where some kid is just picked on for no reason at all. Nothing wrong is happening. Vonda just woke up today and said, I'm going to be an asshole. Like, that's very rare, right?
That's exactly what I did. It's exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
normally there's a reason. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was something subconscious. It was a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to hypnotize her so we can find out what it was. It was the girl's hair. I know that's what it was. It's a hair thing.
It's normally hair, skin tone, clothing. Those are normally the reasons why little girls end up doing this kind of stuff. Because you got something I want. You have the hair I want. You got the clothing I want. You got the shoes I want. You got the skin I want. You got the nose I want. It's something like that. It normally is. Or even back then, yeah, a little bit like, the boy that I like talked to you. The teacher that I like praised you today instead of me, right? So I mean, it's normally something like that. Like, I doubt that Vonda just, the devil just took over, and in that moment, she saw that girl, she was possessed by the devil. I highly doubt that was the scenario. Highly.
Right.
Well, I definitely could not vocalize it, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. She was a cute girl, and I just did not like her, so I was gonna push her every time I saw her.
Dang.
Right? Vonda's so petty.
Do you remember where you pushed her? Was it with her back turned, forward? How did you do it?
Wherever I landed, it was usually from the side. She saw me coming. It wasn't like this big old out of nowhere. Oh my God, who pushed me? Oh, it was Vonda. And it was like subtle between me and her, and I'm just like, even as I say, I'm like, damn, I am so surprised that I would do that. It's like, you have the nerve to put your hands on someone else, and they haven't done anything. To me. Nothing. She did nothing to me. Nothing. Oh, I have never done anything like that before, and I've never done anything like that since.
Wow.
But I talk about that, and like I say, when my mom, she was like, Vonda. I was like, saying in my head, what? Of course I didn't say that out loud. I was just like, what? Why? I'm like, I don't know. And that's what I don't know. So it was just, even the mom was like, you know what? We're not going to get an answer out of this girl. We don't know when she did it. And it like completely stopped. All you have to do is confront me in my face. And guess what? It ended. It never happened again. Cause I'm like, I don't need this woman coming to my door every time. But I was just like really, like amazed and proud of this girl that she could go and talk to her mother. Think about that. She went and talked to her mother and said, look, Mom, there's this girl that keeps pushing me at school. And well, why? What did you do to her? Mom, I ain't do anything to her. She just pushes me for no reason.
Right.
And instead of telling her daughter to bust me upside my head, she, come to talk, and she felt like, hey, there must be something going on with this girl. Let's go find out.
Right.
And all I needed to do was be confronted, and it was over.
Yep. Wanda didn't like getting into trouble. That's why.
I sure did, because I didn't get into trouble, Ruby. That's just what it was. I didn't. So my mom was just like, well, who's this at my door? You selling Avon? What's Mary? What's going on? Oh, no, we need to talk to you about Vonda. She was like, who?
Could be my daughter.
She's like, I can't imagine what did Vonda do? My mom was she was stunned. She was stunned.
That's funny. Who? Which Vonda?
The other one.
Right? I'm surprised by the story. Right? And I'm like, I haven't known you that long, but I'm surprised by the story. Vonda, you?
I have a past. We all have
right?
Ruby. We all have a past.
Vonda's cleaning up the closet tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't bothered anyone when I was younger. I question the heck out of you now, but that's about it. When I was younger, I ain't mess with nobody. I just didn't do it. I was good.
Yeah. See, I was like that when I got older, right? So like once I got to high school and whatever, and I was popular, there was a no bullying ban, period. You could not bully people in my presence or with my knowledge, because I'll come for you. Because I was really determined that people should be able to have 4 years of the best years of their life in high school. So we're in high school, it has nothing to do with you. I don't care if you like this girl's hair. I don't care if you like her attitude or her music or whoever it is, right? Man, woman, or child. You leave them alone unless they did you something. And I was really firm on that, and I got people on my side. So we really had, and it wasn't from the school instituting it was from the students. We instituted a no bullying policy in the school all 4 years.
Cool.
Yeah, as we got older, it was obviously most of the grades under us or around us, right? And I think it was when we got to 11th grade. 11th grade, we had an influence on the whole school. So it was kind of like you couldn't do the bullying thing, because we will defend. We will come, and now you'll have like suddenly like a group of 35 people coming for you for bullying one kid. So it's not worth it for you. You might as well back off and go find something better to do with your time. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. We think that all these adult geared programs, tell a teacher. Tell a teacher for what? What's the teacher going to do? Teacher cannot save you. But students can save each other. So, you have to make that decision, and you've got to kind of teach your kids to, especially if your kids are popular kids, right? Because they're in a position where they can influence the direction of what's socially acceptable or not. And so, you teach your kids when you see that they have influence over other kids to do better. Normally, those are the kids we don't really talk to because they're okay socially. So we don't really have these conversations with them. It's like, no, those are the ones we need to talk to and be like, hey, listen, since you can be a leader in this area, teach other students why they should just live and let live, et cetera, et cetera. Now, are you guys going to fight with your friends and all that stuff? Yeah, sure. Can't change that. But I mean, as far as picking on random kids because, I don't know, they're wearing green and green isn't cool anymore, like, why? Leave them the hell alone.
Right.
Well, I agree with that, the children, actually are the ones that will make the difference. Because like I said before, it was because this girl went to her mom. Now, if she was a badass, she could have went to a couple of her other girlfriends and be like, yeah, she keeps pushing me, and I'm getting sick of this. And they could have got me all in the end of the hallway and, jacked me up. But it didn't get she took accountability and was like, I don't know why this girl's bothering me, because I mean, literally there had not been a crossword spoken between us. So it was just like, she was like, you know what, I'm going to talk to my mom about this because this is some BS. And that's exactly what she did.
Yep.
That's exactly what she did. And it was just like, and me, I did have enough, wherewithal and enough pride about myself that I'm like, okay, well, Vonda, if you don't stop this, it's going to get all over school that you're just walking around just messing with people who ain't did jack diddly to you. So it's like, girl, get it together. You're going to be looking like you're out of control, and it's me, and I'm thinking like this. So it's like, okay, yeah, the jig is up. Oh, I have, it's not a secret no more. I got to stop doing this. Whatever my little secret aggression or anger I have, check yourself at the door, sister. And that's exactly what I did, because it literally like stopped. It was like turning the light switch out. That was it. Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
So yeah, she took accountability, because I sure wasn't about to tell nobody and be like, oh yeah, I got this problem where I'm pushing this girl and I don't know why I'm doing it. And when I was doing it, I knew that I didn't have a reason to do it, but I'm like, I don't like her, so I'm gonna push her. And it didn't make no sense. And I'm like, okay, well, y'all done, you done blew me out, put me on blast, and I can't be walking around looking all crazy like this. Get it together, girl. Get it together. And that's just what it was. That's just what it was. So to this day, I'm glad she told her mom. I'm glad she told her mom. And because that ended it.
Right.
On me. And I don't like the spotlight on me. So I was like, oh no, we got to dim that light. Dim it.
You got to look her up on Facebook, right? And see if you still hate her face. And then maybe you can figure out why you hate her face. You know what I mean? Yeah. Give us an update.
If anything come to mind.
Yeah, right? Because it's like you hear people, it's the same, right? I hate her face, or I hate his face. But like, nah, Vonda really hated her face. So like, we need to figure out why. Right? Like, inquiring minds, Vonda, inquiring minds.
I did, yeah, but I don't. I have no malice towards this woman. I mean, she's a woman. I have absolutely no malice towards her. I wish her the best. And I hope she doesn't have like, oh, I hated that Vonda did that to me, and have this little, she's carrying around this angst for me because I was mean to her.
She probably is, though. I'll just be real. When people bully you or target you for no reason.
No, she's gotten over it. She forgave me.
Did she say those words to you?
No, but I would.
Yeah, thought so.
I would like to think that she forgave me.
She doesn't hate you, I'm sure, but to think that she hasn't thought about that since grade school. No, that's bullshit. You think about stuff like that constantly because it affects your every waking moment in such a way. It tortured this kid. Kids know the rules. You don't just go to your parents. You really don't. So the fact that she went to her mom eventually, that's how bad this was for her. Okay. And so basically she was like psychologically being tortured. I bet you didn't even notice how many things she's changed in her behavior and whatever, trying to get you not to hate her. And it just nothing worked. So she was feeling psychologically tormented and broke down crying at home finally in front of her mom, right? That's not something you just forget. Like, I'm over that now. That didn't mean much. No. Now, does she hate you? No, but she probably does think, kids are assholes, and that Vonda girl, she probably went to prison, right? Like, she probably thinks that. So, she might actually look bored.
I was going through a phase. I was going through a phase, and I outgrew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she doesn't know. She think you joined a motorcycle gang.
Right. I would. Right. When you tell me about a kid who does that, I'm like, oh, okay. And then that kid became a sociopath and selling husband for money, right? And that's Black Widow. Like, no? Oh, really? Like, she's pushed a girl to watch her be in pain for no reason. Yeah, that sounds normal. Right? No. No, but for real. And I will say, it actually might be a good catharsis. Like, do you remember, again, sorry, referring back to Fresh Prince, but remember when Fresh Prince, he went to go look at his bully in Philly? So he went back to Philly to look up his bully so that way he could fight him. Now that he's not younger and smaller and whatever, he's gonna fight his bully. And so he finds his bully, the one that's in the opening credits, and he ain't a bully anymore. He now works with kids and blah blah blah, trying to teach kids not to be what he was, right? There's better ways to deal with the problems you're having at home and the emotional issues you're having than to beat up on other kids and create more emotional issues in the community. So, and Will was like, wait, hell no, I came here to fight you. Put your dukes up, right? He was so determined. Put your dukes up. He was determined to fight this guy and prove like, hey, he's not a punk anymore.
Not afraid anymore, right?
Right, because all his friends were still teasing him about it. You ran away. I didn't run away. My mom sent me away. No, you ran away because you punk. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go find him. Right, and I think that's the thing. Like in your mind, even though you're grown now, it's irrelevant. So many other things have happened. I think it's useful to have those conversations. If you ever found her, be like, hey, girl, how you doing? Remember me?
But you know what? It actually taught me, at that time, because I was confronted, that I was ashamed of my behavior. I was not proud of it. If I was just one of them little, little hood little kids and be like, yeah, I did it, because you looked at me funny, you smacked your lip. I was embarrassed. I was like, damn. I was like, so it shined an unfavorable light on me. And I didn't like that. I freaking did not like that. It didn't matter how young I was. I did not like it. And to me, deep down in the core of me, that's not the person that I was. And I am grateful and thankful that I learned a lesson, and I'm not going to say, I did it because I have been bullied, but I've been bullied before, and I have bullied in that instant. But did I feel good when I was on the opposite end? No, I did not. Because even when I was doing it, I knew it wasn't right. So, and I kind of felt like my time was running out, like, sand through the hourglass. And when she knocked on that door, and I was like, damn. I was like, should I tell her my mom's not here? Because I could have easily said, no, my mom ain't here. I don't have a mom. I could have did all kind of stuff. But I was honest, and I was like, okay, hold on. And I go and get my mom. My mom's like, what the hell? What you bothering me? And then I bring her this, and she's like, who are you? Wanda? It was just so like not like me. So I did learn my lesson that, I didn't feel good about being mean to her, because even though I was mean to her, she wasn't upset with me. She was just wondering, what's wrong with this chick that she keeps pushing me every time I see her? Maybe I was, like one push away from her going upside my head, but she was like, look, my mom taught me not to do that. So I'm just going to come talk to my mom first and see what my mom says. And my mom's like, you know what? I think something's going on with this girl. Let's go and talk to her mom.
Right.
It was, to me, it was a level of understanding that, this woman, the mother, gave to me as a child, because I was a child, she was the adult. And the fact that she installed this into her daughter, like I said, her daughter had every right to just, the next time she saw me coming, just to bust me upside my head. Because I didn't mean her no good, because I was definitely going to push her. I'm walking in that direction. She was definitely going to get a nudge, a shove, a push, or something. So it could have been worse. I picked the right one and not the wrong one.
Yep.
And maybe because I knew she wouldn't do that, I'm like, yeah, she ain't gonna do nothing. I'm push her. So it's like all these things fell into place for a reason. And I look at my experiences and I learn from the stuff that I do, and I try not to repeat the same mistake twice. It's not good, and it does not feel good to be bullied, and it's not good nor does it feel good to bully people. And this is something I learned on myself.
Yeah.
Based on situation.
Absolutely. It's a life lesson you've got to learn on your own, and hopefully you learn it.
When I get busted upside my head, because every right. Every right.
Yep. Should have done it once. Just once. Poppy. It's a little pop. Pop, pop, you know? Yeah.
You quit pushing me.
Well, let that be a lesson, everyone. And keep that in mind. You know, the way you conduct yourself, people are watching. So be responsible. You're an adult now. Be responsible. You were younger, saying you couldn't wait till you got 16. You couldn't wait till you got 18. You couldn't wait till you get 21. Well, you're all of that plus some. Act like it.
Yes.
And with that, I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight, those in the chat room, those who contributed to the channel, and those on the panel here. I appreciate your commentary. It was wonderful.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I really enjoy hanging out with you ladies. Great topics each week. I look forward to see what the next, topic is going to be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Likewise.
And you guys tune in tomorrow for the article reaction. They'll be at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And until then, peace.
Cheers, y'all.
Peace out, family.
Hey folks, it's your nighttime, it's your right time DJ Music. Make sure you join Char Willie each and every Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central for article reaction, right here on your local YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to Article Reaction.